On a misty night, when the moon hung low in the sky, a forgotten bridge emerged from the shadows, its wooden planks creaking under the weight of unspoken tales. Legend whispered of a ghostly woman in white, her figure fleeting like a wisp of smoke. Clara was her name, a tragic spirit tied to stories of love and loss. Many had reported hearing her sorrowful wails, echoing through the stillness of the night, a lament for a heart forever broken. Ethan, a curious historian with a thirst for the truth, felt irresistibly drawn to the tales of the haunting. Shimmering glow of his flashlight, he stood at the edge of the bridge, Sophie by his side, her heart racing with both excitement and trepidation. At his quest, a tremor of fear lingered in her voice as she spoke of the legends that hung over the town like a heavy fog. They reached the center of the bridge. The atmosphere shifted, thickening with an unspeakable energy. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine as if Clara herself were beckoning him closer. Just then, a fleeting figure appeared at the far end of the bridge. Real and radiant, the woman in white stood with an elegance that seemed to transcend time. Ethan's heart raced as he caught a glimpse, an inexplicable connection binding him to this spectral beauty. Sophie, sensing the tension, whispered of their need to leave, but Ethan remained transfixed, drawn by the silent plea in Clara's vacant gaze. He longed to understand her sorrow, to unravel the mystery that cloaked her in sadness. Clara's ethereal figure lingered. Her presence felt more than seen, inviting Ethan to uncover the truth of her tragic story. The night deepened and the mist thickened. A heavy silence fell, thick like the fog surrounding them. Connection had been forged, the promise of discovery echoing in Ethan's heart. That haunting moment, he swore to himself that he would delve deeper into Clara's past, to learn of her love that remained forever unfulfilled. The ghostly woman in white had captured his curiosity, drawing him into the depths of a story that begged to be told. Returning home, Ethan's mind swirled with thoughts of Clara. He found himself confiding in Sophie, who listened patiently as he spoke of the connection he felt. Despite her unease, she offered him gentle encouragement, knowing that uncovering the truth might satiate the ache in his heart. Or deep inside, she felt a warning, a whisper that suggested some shadows were better left undisturbed. Driven by an insatiable desire to seek answers, Ethan ventured to the local library the next day. Dusty shelves stood tall, housing the fragmented pieces of the town's history. That he first met Old Man River, local elder with knowledge etched in the lines of his weathered face. Old Man spoke as if recounting a tale from a dream, revealing that Clara's tragic love story echoed through the ages, entwined with the destiny of lost souls. Her lover, the soldier, had never returned from war, and in her despair, Clara became a pale reflection of her former self. Each night, she waited by the bridge, hoping for his return, her heart cradled by an eternal yearning. Old Man River's voice wrapped around him like a warm embrace. Ethan felt a strong pull toward Clara's sorrow, compelling him to bring her story into the light. Growing increasingly obsessed with unraveling the mystery, Ethan returned home, filled with newfound determination. Sophie, clearly worried, urged caution, sensing the weight that Clara's story could impose on them. Or of the ghostly woman, her anguish resonating within him was too strong. Ethan could not turn back now. He was entangled in the web of Clara's heartache, destined to understand the tragedy that kept her anchored to this world. A legend of Clara had only just begun to unfurl, and Ethan's heart was set on discovering the truth, despite the echoes of warning that beckoned him to reconsider. A mist may have obscured Clara's form, but beneath the layers of sorrow, a tale awaited to be told. With each step further into her past, Ethan felt himself drawing closer to the heart of a love story that transcended the veil of time. A moonlight painted shadows on the worn wooden floors of the old house as Ethan, Sophie, and Ben stepped inside. Dust motes floated through the air, and the atmosphere was thick with untold stories yearning to be heard. Danced along Ethan's spine, yet his curiosity surged. This was Clara's home, a place where her joys turned to sorrows, and he felt an insatiable need to uncover every secret hidden within its walls. They wandered through the dimly lit rooms. Memories of laughter seemed to echo faintly, quickly replaced by an unsettling silence that hung heavy over them. Cobwebs draped from corners, and the faded wallpaper told tales of a time long past. Led the way, careful of the creaking floorboards beneath their feet. Ophi held tightly to his arm, her heart pounding, a symphony of anxious beats reminding her that perhaps some things were meant to remain untouched. The living room, an old fireplace stood, its hearth cold and empty. Clutter of antique furniture surrounded it, layered with dust and neglect. Scoured the room, his skepticism unwavering. He chuckled softly, mocking the layers of myths surrounding them. However, Ethan's focus shifted as he spotted a trunk, battered and forgotten. He approached it, his breath quickening with the thrill of discovery. Some effort, he pried it open. Inside, they uncovered a collection of faded letters and a delicate diary bound in worn leather. Initials C. S. Bossed on the cover stirred something deep within Ethan. This was Clara's diary, a tangible connection to the woman they had come to understand through whispers. He glanced at Sophie, her eyes wide with excitement and trepidation. He nodded encouragingly, urging him to reveal the secrets that lay penned within the diary's pages. Ethan carefully opened the diary, revealing heartfelt entries that spilled forth Clara's emotions. He read aloud. The room seemed to hold its breath, drawn into Clara's world. Each word painted a vivid picture of love and heartache, a poignant tale of promises made under the stars, and the anguish that shadowed her heart on the day he failed to return. Clara poured out her soul, recounting how each sunset on the bridge marked her waiting, her devotion unwavering despite the pain that unfolded. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A gust of cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing their lanterns and plunging them into darkness. The hairs on the back of Ben's neck bristled, and doubt flickered in his eyes. He had dismissed the ghost stories as mere tales, yet this felt different. Ethan's voice quivered not from fear, but from empathy, connecting to Clara's spirit through her words. Soft, ethereal glow began to materialize at the edge of the room, illuminating the darkness. Clara's spirit shimmered, her features soft and sorrowful, frozen in time yet unmistakably alive with emotion. Panic erupted among the group. He stumbled backward, his skepticism shattered, while Sophie clutched Ethan tightly, her heartbeat thrumming loudly in the charged air. And stood his ground, feeling an inexplicable bond weaving between them. He reached out with gentle resolve, determined to understand her pain. Clara's poignant gaze locked onto his, her presence enveloping the room with a bittersweet yearning. That moment, Ethan took a step closer, unafraid to confront the specter of loss that lingered in the air. He whispered the last words of Clara's diary. The room shifted, the air thrummed with energy. A moment suspended in time, a connection etched between the living and the departed. Full of fear, he sought the light within Clara's shadowed past, hoping to offer her the solace she had longed for. A spectral woman in white stood before them, a mirror of memories awaiting release. Ethan felt her anguish wrap around him, a bittersweet embrace that transcended the boundaries of life and death. Clara's spirit flickered, caught between grief and yearning, as Ethan read the last passages of her story aloud, praying she would find peace within the echoes of her past. With each passing night, the haunting presence of Clara grew stronger, her appearances more frequent as if she had chosen Ethan as her conduit. He could feel her spirit weaving through the fabric of his thoughts, revealing deeper layers of sorrow and longing. One of those misty evenings, under a blanket of stars shrouded in clouds, that Ethan and Sophie returned to the bridge, once again enticed by the legend of the ghostly woman in white. The air was thick with an evocative silence as they approached the old structure, the bridge creaking softly beneath their footsteps. Ethan felt as though Clara was watching, her gaze heavy with the weight of unshed tears. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his emotions, and glanced at Sophie, who stood close, her expression a mix of concern and anticipation. Despite her fears, Sophie had chosen to stand by Ethan, ready to confront whatever might lie ahead. They reached the center of the bridge. The mist curled tighter around them. Your chill cut through the warm evening air, and Ethan felt a pulse of energy flowing through the space. He called out softly, his voice barely a whisper, hoping to stir Clara's spirit. The atmosphere shifted, igniting with a palpable tension, and there she was, Clara, resplendent in her white gown, her ethereal form gliding like a wisp of fog. Ethan's heart raced, and he extended a hand, feeling an urge to comfort the lonely apparition. Clara's eyes reflected a deep sadness, a quest for closure that echoed through time. This was what she sought, someone to hear her story, to acknowledge her pain. They stood beneath the moonlight. The ghostly silhouette seemed to shimmer, an embodiment of love unfulfilled. But with each haunting night, Sophie began to feel the weight of Clara's sorrow upon her, as if the spirit were drawing her into the depths of her despair. Invaded her dreams, lingering like shadows in the recesses of her mind, mulling over tales of loss and regret. Hugged by an invisible thread, she found herself haunted by visions of Clara waiting on the bridge, her heart yearning for a lover lost to the ravages of time. Ethan noticed the change in Sophie. He could feel Clara's influence wrapping around them, binding Sophie to the story that enveloped him. He struggled with the thought that his investigation may be putting them both in danger. Torn between his thirst for knowledge and the desire to protect Sophie from Clara's consuming sorrow, he felt the weight of his decisions pressing heavy upon him. Sophie confided in Ethan, her hesitation clear as she expressed her fears about the spirit that seemed to be reaching out, not just to him, but to her as well. Connection was powerful, and it caused Ethan to question if they should continue their journey deep into the shadows of Clara's past. Still, the flame of curiosity flickered within him, bright and unwavering. Deeper truth awaited to be unveiled. With a steadfast resolve, Ethan began to gather more clues about Clara's tragic story, knowing she yearned for resolution above all else. He revisited the old library, seeking fragments of history that could reveal what had happened on that fateful day when her heart shattered. With Sophie at his side, they pieced together Clara's narrative, discovering that betrayal had woven itself into the fabric of her love story. Her soldier had promised to return, yet fate intervened cruelly. The more they uncovered, the more Ethan felt Clara's presence enveloping him, urging him to bridge the gap between the worlds of the living and the dead. Old Man River's tales echoed in his mind, stories of love that transcended mortality, leaving behind echoes of sorrow that lingered, crying out for recognition. They returned to the bridge one last time. Ethan knew they were approaching the moment of confrontation. The night hung thick with anticipation, and as they gazed across the water, Clara appeared once more, her ethereal beauty mingled with an overwhelming sadness. Ethan realized that his encounter with the ghostly woman in white was not merely a quest for understanding, but a chance to offer Clara the peace she had been denied for so long. With his heart pounding, Ethan addressed Clara once more, ready to embrace the full weight of her story. He felt the connection strengthening, threads of shared pain weaving together a recognition that transcended time. Clara, haunting presence, just a specter of sorrow. She was a symbol of love, loss, and longing. Ethan was determined to unravel the tangles of her tragic love story, so that both she and Sophie could find the solace they sought. The lanterns flickered back to life. The ethereal glow of Clara's spirit shimmered gently in the dim light. Ethan stood entangled in the weight of her sorrow, the air around him vibrating with a deep, unspoken connection. Clara's luminous form hovered just beyond reach, a flicker of hope amidst her lingering despair. Something sacred in this shared moment, a bridge forged between the living and the dead. Ethan's heart raced with empathy as Clara's essence seemed to swirl with the unfulfilled yearnings of a lost love. He bore witness to the pain that had shackled her for so long, feeling the echoes of heartbreak that transcended time. He finished reading from her diary. The words resonated within the walls of the old house, wrapping around them like a comforting yet bittersweet embrace. Sophie felt the air grow thick with emotion, both terrified and fascinated by the woman before them. He squeezed Ethan's arm tighter, silently urging him to tread carefully in this delicate dance of spirits. Meanwhile, Ben, who once stood as a foundation of skepticism, now felt the world shift beneath his feet. Profound reality of Clara's presence began to weave a spell over him, a transformation from doubt to understanding, as he battled with the feelings that began to creep in. A soft whisper echoed through the room, more felt than heard, carrying the weight of Clara's desires. Ethan focused on Clara, his breath steadying as he prepared to reach out. Wash in compassion, he murmured quietly, promising her understanding and a chance for closure. He wanted her to know that she was not a forgotten memory, but a soul longing for release, a story yearning to be told. Clara's sorrowful gaze, a mix of longing and gratitude, conveyed unspoken words that melted the distance between them. In that fragile balance of life and death, Clara uncovered a flicker of hope. Her translucent features wavered, revealing a glimpse of the vibrant woman she once was, caught in the bittersweet glow of love unfulfilled. The pain in her eyes relaxed slightly as Ethan shared his connection to her tale, to her heartache, encouraging her silently to release the burden she had carried for far too long. They made their way back to the bridge where Clara's spirit had remained tethered all those years. Ethan proposed a lantern ceremony, a gathering of the community to honor the lost loves that intertwined with their own lives. He felt that this was the only way to help Clara cross from sorrow into peace. Ophi, her heart swelling with warmth, embraced the idea. Even Ben, still grappling with the truth of the haunting, agreed to join in this tribute. A night of the lantern ceremony arrived, its atmosphere filled with anticipation. The townsfolk gathered under the moon, illuminating the bridge with a strand of warm lights, lending the world a soft and ethereal glow. The lanterns floated gently downstream. Clara's spirit began to weave through the crowd, drawn to the illumination of love and memory. Ethan watched intently as Clara approached the water's edge, her expression transforming with hope. With each lantern that glided away, he could see the chains of her past slowly dissolving. The glow around Clara brightened, radiating a warmth that spoke of love, pain, and finally, the chance for release. Tears glistened in Sophie's eyes, and even Ben's heart softened, swept away in the collective remembrance of all the lost souls. The last lantern slipped away into the darkness. Clara's essence brightened, shimmering with a newfound serenity. The air around them began to shimmer, as if a long-forgotten dream was being fulfilled within the ethereal realm. Clara lifted her head to the stars, a soft smile breaking through the anguish, as though the weight of her past was finally lifted into the luminous night. Could feel her presence envelop them in a gentle embrace. He whispered a silent farewell, filled with gratitude for the journey they had shared. This moment of bittersweet release, they understood that Clara was free, finally able to let go of the heartache that had bound her for so long. With Clara's spirit now at rest, Ethan stood at the bridge, gazing into the rippling water below. Memory of her tragic love story would now become part of their lives, woven into the rich tapestry of local legend. Ophi placed her hand gently on Ethan's back, sharing in the quiet reflection of the night and the lessons of love and longing that Clara's story had imparted. They left the bridge behind. A sense of closure enveloped them, and the whispers of Clara echoed softly in the night air, reminders of a love unforgotten and a spirit finally at peace. A moon hung high in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the bridge, transforming it into a magical realm where the boundaries of reality seemed to blur. Ethan stood at the center, his heart racing, drawn deeper into Clara's haunting presence. With each encounter, he felt her emotions pouring into him like a river, filling him with her heartache and unfulfilled dreams. Ophi stood close by, her breath shallow as she absorbed the intensity of the atmosphere. The weight of Clara's sorrow pressed heavily on her shoulders. Nightmares plagued her sleep, visions of the ghostly woman waiting endlessly by the bridge, her face a canvas of longing. The palpable connection that Clara shared with Ethan seemed to extend to her, drawing them into the depths of grief that had thrived in the shadows for far too long. Sensed the shift in Sophie, as if Clara's spirit had sought her out, adding a layer of unease to their investigation. Torn between his desire for the truth and his need to protect Sophie, Ethan struggled with the newfound complexity of their journey. He couldn't shake the feeling that Clara's story, while rich with love, was also laden with danger. He turned to Sophie, taking her hands in his. He spoke of the urgency he felt, and need to offer Clara the closure she so desperately sought. Sophie's gaze softened, yet worry flickered in her eyes. They needed to face the truth together, to confront the darkness that hung over Clara's story, but at what cost? As they prepared for one last visit to the bridge, the air was thick with anticipation. Ethan's determination was a beacon, guiding him towards a confrontation with the specter they had come to know. He wanted to understand Clara's past, to unravel the tapestry woven with the threads of her love and loss. Upon reaching the bridge, they stood side by side, the cool breeze rippling around them, intertwining their fates with Clara's unending weight. Time seemed to suspend in silence, every heartbeat echoing with Clara's presence. Then, as if summoned by their yearning, Clara appeared, draped in luminescent white, her sorrowful gaze fixated upon Ethan. He stepped forward, his voice trembling with empathy, ready to ask her what she desired. This was the moment, the culmination of their journey into Clara's tragic past. Clara's spirit shimmered, her form vibrating with a longing that transcended the boundaries of life. With a gentle, almost sorrowful motion, Clara seemed to draw closer, her eyes shimmering with unspoken words. Felt the connection surge, the energy between them electrifying. He let the words flow, recounting the diary entries that revealed her affection, her anguish, and the heartache that lingered like a ghost after the light of day had faded. He spoke. Clara's expression changed from despair to hope, flickers of understanding illuminating her features. Clear to Ethan that Clara's desire was not just for acknowledgement, but for resolution. Her pain stemmed from the day she waited by the bridge, heart full of expectations, only to be met with betrayal and loss. Ethan felt the weight of her story, the aching desire for reconciliation resonating within him. He realized that Clara's love was a timeless tale, one that mirrored their own lives, a blend of hope and sorrow, revealing the threads that intertwined all their fates. Sophie, compelled by the intensity of the moment, stepped closer, feeling a tether to the spirit herself. A warmth of Clara's energy enveloped them, a bittersweet blend of longing and release. All connected now, bound by emotions echoing through time. Clara began to fade. Ethan sensed an overwhelming gratitude in her gaze. She had finally found solace in their understanding. Her silhouette became a gentle, wispy form, threading through the darkness, her presence no longer one of despair but of peace. Ethan and Sophie stood hand in hand, the weight of Clara's legacy settling around them like a soft embrace. They turned away from the bridge. They could feel the echoes of Clara's story intertwining with their own, resonating within their hearts, a reminder of love that never truly fades. With every step away from the bridge, they knew they had honored Clara's pain, giving voice to a story that had long lingered in silence. Clara's spirit had been set free, leaving behind a gentle whisper of love cast upon the night, forever woven into the fabric of their lives, an echo of a ghostly woman who once waited by the bridge, who would now rest with a heart at peace. Ethan stood there. Profound calm enveloped the bridge, the air touched with the lingering essence of Clara, the ghostly woman in white. A night was thick with emotion, a tapestry woven from threads of sorrow and hope. As the last lantern disappeared into the rippling water, there was a palpable shift around him. Clara's presence radiated an energy that whispered stories of the past while promising peace for the future. Sophie, ever attuned to the ethereal fabric of the moment, leaned closer to Ethan, her heart swelling with a sense of connection to Clara's tragic love story. 2. The weight of love lost, the ache of waiting that spanned across lifetimes. The soft glow of the remaining lanterns, their warmth mirrored a shared understanding and acknowledgement of sorrow, and a celebration of love that endures beyond the veil of time. A bridge, once a place of haunting whispers and lingering shadows, had transformed into a sacred space of healing. Ethan allowed the gentle currents of emotion to wash over him, remembering the journey that had led him here, to this very moment, beside the spirit of a woman who had suffered in silence for far too long. Resting his hands on the railing, He felt a sudden rush of gratitude not only for Clara finding peace, but for the lessons her story had imparted. Even Ben, the skeptic who had treaded cautiously through the haunting, now felt a shift within himself. A spectacle of Clara's journey, witnessed by everyone present, unraveled the skepticism he had held tightly, had shifted his perspective, igniting a spark of understanding that resonated beyond the explanation of myths and legend. The power that was undeniable, capable of transcending boundaries and echoing in the hearts of those left behind. Old Man River observed quietly, a knowing smile spreading across his weathered face. He had seen the fear that had once held the townsfolk captive, stories of ghosts and curses that turned lovers into shadow. But tonight, Clara had shown them a new path, a chronology where love and loss were not merely echoes of the past, but reminders to cherish every fleeting moment. They prepared to leave the bridge. Ethan took one last glance at the water, reflecting on the journey the three of them had undertaken, woven into the love story of a woman who had once stood alone, waiting for a return that never came. Clara had urged them forward, revealing the resilience required to confront the shadows that lurked within their hearts. With every step they took away from that sacred space, peaceful silence fell between Ethan and Sophie, their hands intertwining, fingers weaving together as if to strengthen the bond that had deepened with their shared experiences. The soft whispers of Clara's story hummed in the night, a melody that would linger long after they returned to their ordinary lives. That lingering silence, Ethan knew that he would carry Clara's memory with him, always a guiding light shaping the narrative of his own life. Her sorrow had transformed into a powerful reminder to embrace love fiercely, to never let fear anchor them down in the shadows. Clara, a testament to love lost, and opened themselves to the beauty of connection, ensuring Clara's tale would not fade into oblivion but continue to weave through the fabric of their community like a gentle thread of hope. They distanced themselves from the bridge. The stars above seemed to twinkle in approval, heralding the beginning of a new chapter, not just for Ethan and Sophie. Clara's spirit, long last free to dance among the constellation, in the light of eternal love. The lantern ceremony unfolded. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation and emotion. Ethan stood at the forefront, the warmth of the flickering lanterns casting a soft glow, illuminating faces reflecting shared love and loss. The bridge, once a haunting ground for sorrow, transformed into a space of remembrance, a testament to the heartaches that intertwined with their lives. Clara's spirit, drawn to the light, floated gracefully above the water, her ethereal form shimmering like a whisper of moonlight. Ethan watched in awe, his heart pounding with a mixture of joy and heartache. Each lantern released into the current carried not only the hopes of the living, but also the echoes of Clara's long-desired peace. With every glow that drifted downstream, Ethan felt the weight of Clara's tragic love story begin to lift, her presence softening as if untangling strands of grief accumulated over years. Sophie, standing close beside him, leaned in with a sense of wonder. Flickering lights ignited something within her, a spark of understanding illuminating Clara's sorrow and the deep-rooted connections they were all part of. Collective heartbeat of the community, a tapestry woven with threads of loss and love, reminding her that they were never truly alone in their grief. Old Man River observed from a distance, his wise eyes shimmering with approval. He had known long ago that Clara's spirit awaited this moment of catharsis, and now, witnessing it unfold, he felt a profound gratitude. Children of the town, unaware of the supernatural undercurrents, giggled and pointed as the lantern sailed away. Blissfully enveloped in the innocence of childhood, yet they too were connected by the fabric of these stories, intertwining their lives through shared myths. The last lantern floated away. A change was palpable. Clara's spirit seemed to grow brighter, light washing over her sorrow as if her very essence was being transformed. Ethan shared a knowing glance with Sophie, the warmth of her hand in his grounding him in this pivotal moment. This was not just an end, but a beginning, a chance for Clara to find the closure she had been hungering for. The air around Clara shimmered with a newfound vibrancy, and the chains of her past began to dissolve, untethered finally from the solitude she had endured. Ethan could sense her relief rippling through the crowd as a soft wind whispered through the tree. Carrying with it Clara's muted laughter, a sound that resonated not from despair but from joy, from a love that endured beyond the veil of existence. That moment of shared intimacy, Ethan stepped forward, cupping his hands around his mouth, ready to assure Clara of her legacy. He spoke aloud, acknowledging her lifelong wait and the betrayal that had held her captive for so long. He wanted her to know they were all witness to her pain, yet they were also a part of her redemption. With each word, he poured out his heart, hoping to bridge the chasm of time and bind their souls in understanding. "Clara," he said, his voice trembling yet resolute, "you are not forgotten. Our story lives on within us, intertwining with our own paths, a reminder that love can be both our greatest strength and our deepest sorrow." The spirit of Clara shimmered, her form becoming more defined yet tender, her gaze now filled not with longing but with gratitude. Ethan felt a surge of energy ripple through the space. She began to dissolve into an array of soft colors, a cascade of brilliant hues mixing with the twilight sky. She were being woven back into the fabric of the universe, finally free to embrace the love she had once cherished while letting go of the grief that had clouded her existence. She took one last look at them. Her smile radiated warmth, an expression full of love and understanding. The fading moments of her appearance, an invisible thread connecting them all: Ethan, Sophie, Ben, Old Man River, the community reminding them that they were all part of a greater narrative, by the tales of love that transcended time and space. And just like that, the night shifted. Clara's spirit shimmered one last time before ascending into the heavens, leaving behind a trail of light that echoed softly on the bridge. Breeze swept through the air, carrying with it the fragrant scent of blooming flowers, as if Clara herself had whispered a final blessing upon them. Ethan turned to Sophie, their eyes meeting, filled with an unspoken understanding, a promise to honor Clara's memory and the lessons learned from her story. It's not just the end of a haunting, but the birth of new beginnings rooted in love, empathy, and connection. They stepped away from the bridge. The echoes of Clara murmured softly in the night, weaving her tale into the pages of life, a gentle reminder that love remains eternal, lingering within the hearts of all who dare to remember. A night had settled softly over the bridge, the moon now a comforting glow above, as Ethan, Sophie, and Ben stood quietly, reflecting on the lantern ceremony that had just unfolded. The air was different now, light, almost electric, with a sense of catharsis, as Clara's spirit lingered in the ethereal space between their world and the next. Profound stillness enveloped him, a soothing balm to the emotional journey they had traversed. Clara's presence hung like gossamer, full of gratitude and peace. A weight of sorrow that had once shackled her now seemed liberated, leaving in its wake a whisper of love that echoed delicately through the night. Sophie gazed at the water, its surface shimmering as the last lanterns drifted away, becoming tiny pinpricks of light against the dark canvas of the river. He squeezed Ethan's hand tighter, feeling the shared resonance of the moment. Clara's story had woven itself into the fabric of their lives, leaving an indelible mark upon their hearts, an echo of love that felt familiar yet timeless. Stood slightly apart, lost in thought. No longer the skeptic, he now understood the depth of what they had witnessed. The transformation of the ghostly woman in white had shattered his preconceptions, revealing a world imbued with the power of unresolved love. A power of stories lingered, connecting them all through Clara's plight. Old Man River watched with a knowing glint in his eye, having witnessed countless stories unfold through the years. Clara's journey had been one of many, yet it felt different this time. There was a sense of community now, a shared understanding of love's intricate web that extended beyond mortal existence. This was not merely the tragic tale of a lonely spirit anymore, but a reminder of the connections they all held dear. They began to walk away from the bridge. Ethan felt the echoes of Clara's heartache alongside the warmth of her newfound peace. Each step was imbued with meaning, a celebration of the love that had been shared and the losses that had once lingered like shadows. He glanced back over his shoulder, half expecting to see Clara standing there, her figure wispy and ethereal, Instead, he felt her presence within him, guiding him forward. Ophi turned to Ethan, her eyes glistening with emotion. He spoke of how Clara's story would now become a part of their own narratives, a thread woven into their lives, a reminder to cherish love in all its forms. Understanding flashed between them, that in giving Clara a voice, they had also honored their own stories. With each stride away from the bridge, they felt lighter, as if the burdens of the past were slowly shedding. In the distance, the village lights twinkled like stars, a vibrant tapestry against the velvet night. They had embarked on an adventure into the depths of sorrow, only to emerge with a deeper appreciation for the connections they held. En looked at Ethan and Sophie, a newfound resolve blossoming within him. A shared experience had tied them together in unexpected ways, and he felt compelled to create a space in his heart for the stories that lingered. Though Clara had been a ghost, her essence had transformed into something greater, a lesson in love that beckoned them to remember. They made their way home. Clara lingered in their thoughts, a gentle reminder of the stories threaded into their lives. Her legacy became a quiet echo, guiding them through their nights and filling their hearts with warmth. Part of the haunting tapestry of love, a collective memory that would transcend time, telling tales that were never truly forgotten. The lingering whispers of Clara faded into the night, but the lessons her spirit imparted would endure, guiding Ethan, Sophie, and Ben through the darkness, helping them embrace the light of love that illuminated their paths forevermore.